Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Insights Tech Showcase on product and concept testing. Here with me, I have Lenny, but before I hand it on over, I just want to remind you about that Q&A box. If you have any questions, you can pop them there and we'll get to them at the end of each session. But with that, Lenny, I will hand it on over to you.
Thanks, Bridget. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Insights Tech Showcase. The goal here is to give you kind of a grounding in the core topic, which in this case is around concept testing technology. So you can then appreciate and evaluate the suppliers you're going to see here and or others afterwards. Now, fair warning. Usually we try and get these decks so that they are exactly 20 minutes from a length standpoint. There's a lot to cover on this topic. So the deck is longer than I have to talk to you. So fair warning, I'm going to skip a few slides. That doesn't mean they're not important for you to have after the event. I want you to have access to them, but I'm going to try and just focus on kind of the key topics around methodology and appropriate use cases here in this conversation as a framing reference for you going forward. So with that said, let's jump in. First, what is product and concept testing? It's creating reality and intimacy. Basically, you have an idea for a product, for a concept, and you need to test it. You need to understand how people are going to react to it. It becomes the foundation for looking at any of your projections, sales projections, et cetera, et cetera. It's a big deal. This is the beginning of a product journey after you've got through ideation. And there's lots of ways to get there. And there's lots of technology that is continuing to create efficiencies and even new ways to engage with your audience. And we're going to talk about that as the primary focus for this conversation. So if you want to really kind of break this down, the type of product, there's physical, let's say, food. There's one. Service, something that is a new product that you're rolling out from a service standpoint, let's say financial services, or digital that is more focused around usability. It's an enhancement to your favorite platform or social media platform. So obviously that changes the whole scope of solutions that you can choose from. If it's physical, there may be sensory, maybe in-home use tests. There could be virtual prototypes as you're kind of where you are in the process. If it's service, you can usually do that more in kind of a traditional quant or qual scenario with complete descriptions. You don't necessarily have to get too much into a prototype itself. There's also ways that you could do that longitudinally, kind of live betas. Digital, obviously, you're going to probably focus more on UX testing because that's going to be a significant piece of that that can also be integrated as you roll it out. So there's just lots of options here, and that's what we're going to try and focus on right now. Think about whether it's a frontline concept and experience or enablement and governance, which is really around data quality. This is one of those things that you can think about more as we go forward. Basically, we're looking at survey-based concept testing and diagnostics, qualitative and community or diaries, trade-off and assortment tests. Automated concept and idea screening is something that is certainly very valuable now today from a technology standpoint. There are behavioral simulations that can be done, prototype, UX, and usability testing, and iHUTs and physical trial management. So again, a wide assortment of options as you think about the type of product you have, who is your audience, and what is the ideal approach to be able to engage that audience to get the best data to drive your product decisions. Not going to get too much into the governance stuff. This is one of the slides that you can look at. These are considerations in thinking about how it fits into broader workflows and considerations in the business. All right, surveys, concept testing, diagnostics. This is probably the dominant mode today when you're trying to when you have a product concept or even multiple product concepts that you want to evaluate and optimize to be able to determine what is the best product concept overall within your audience. So Surveys are the dominant model to be used for this, especially online surveys. It allows for lots of different functionality around monadic, sequential monadic, lots of different ways to be able to test different concepts. It is one of those things you could utilize, let's say conjoint, max diff, looking at the optimal combination of features. All of those things happen predominantly today within qualitative online surveys. Generally, this is research managers or product managers that are deploying it, and the output gets you to understand what your audience thinks about the concept, so you can get to, all right, here's my pick of 3 different concepts or 3 different combinations of factors in that concept, and I want to go with this one because it's the one to test best. Now it's going to move it into production overall. Strengths, obviously, every strength that you have with quantitative research, it's relatively easy, relatively inexpensive. It doesn't always measure from a challenges standpoint. Stated intent, a lot of debate on whether stated intent is actually viable or not, because people artifice and satisfice and do those type of things. So keep that in mind. There can be rigidity and obviously the experiential aspects of that. And of course, the sample quality continues to be a challenge. So you want to make sure that you're actually getting people that are giving you real good feedback and are aligned to that product, or actually your potential customers. Let's talk about qualitative and community or diaries. There's lots of options there now to be asynchronous, meaning communities or diaries or mobile diaries, lots of different variations, or synchronous, traditional focus groups. Today, we have the option of macro focus groups because of the advent of AI to enable the analysis faster. Many companies do that. So you can do a qualitative exploration on a product concept with 500 people at once within a session versus the asynchronous. Lots of branded product marketing managers utilize these. Of course, UX researchers utilize them as well. If it can, doesn't have to be an either or. You could do a survey, you can refine the concept, you could test again within qualitative, or vice versa. So it could be a very iterative process. But typically, your options now for quant and qual as broad methods within your product development process are significant. It allows you to be very iterative, very imaginative, very agile, and to really get to an optimal process. And with AI, it's only getting cheaper, faster, and more impactful from the output standpoint. So you're going to see a lot of that here today. Thinking about qualitative, let's get into the why. You can explore more ideas, and more feedback rather than the rigid structure of quant. But it also requires some level of moderation, whether it's AI moderation or human. So there's more of a human touch. Whoop, I think I skipped a slide. Nope, I didn't. All right. Trade-off and assortments. This gets much more technical. So if you're looking at trade-off analysis, again, one of the approaches may be a quantitative survey utilizing max diff, for instance, but it doesn't just have to be that. There's lots of ways to do trade-off. You could do visual shelf testing as well, which lets you look at the assortment in kind of in situ compared to how that would look in real life. Lots of ways to focus there on price and feature and optimize around those. Generally, this is primarily done within a quantitative digital structure. That's really important when you have a complex combination of variables that impact the product. So keep that in mind when there is a lot of price sensitivity, or within you go into multiple markets and looking at multiple potential audiences who are looking for combinations of features. It is more complex, so obviously it's usually going to cost more and requires more expertise and understanding what you're doing in order to do that. And it can be more difficult to explain the methodology in order to explain the outputs for key stakeholders so they understand the science behind it. Automated concept and idea screening. There's a lot of that happening now. The advent of this started with DIY, went into automation. Now we have AI. This is not as sophisticated in terms of the level of complexity that you can have, the level of customization, but it is very, very easy today to throw a whole bunch of concepts out and test them really inexpensively in a structured and robust way. Again, trade-off is going to be customization. We see a lot of that being done now with innovation leads, portfolio managers. There's a lot of off-the-shelf products, particularly around AI, that enable this. It's best maybe in early stage when you have multiple concepts that you're trying to test, and narrow that down to, okay, through this process now I've got 2 or 3. Now I want to test those. There are even options to do this now with synthetic sample entirely. Would caution you to make sure that if you're doing that you are using synthetic sample that is based off of real first-party data, not off of just kind of general AI. That doesn't mean that doesn't have a place either, but some level of rigor is needed here. It's very fast. It's very low cost. That's one of the benefits. It does have limited flexibility, and make sure that you're paying attention to who owns the data and the privacy of the concepts that you are testing. There are some of these platforms that are leveraging the data inputs for training data that may not be just for you as a customer. They may be going to everybody else. If that's not a problem, don't worry about it, but be aware of it. Behavioral simulations. Now, this gets even more complex, where you are basically creating simulation models based off of lots of variables, including non-conscious measurement, human behavior. Those are inputs. And you think of it as kind of agent-based modeling. It's a way to be able to understand how these things work in a broader way in situ. So if competition is an issue in store, you may want to look at some of the behavioral simulations. If it is a complex assortment of different products and features and capabilities, then this is very useful in kind of understanding what that scenario planning looks like. Virtual shelf testing would fit into here as well. So think about that. It's almost like market mix modeling from the standpoint of human decision making as it relates to product versus just marketing channels. We can definitely, it reveals preference signals. You can get to some deeper drivers of human decision making. This would be appropriate, let's say, for PAC, as you're looking at that aspect of product. It is generally, the models are more realistic because they're built off of normative databases that are massive and are really driving all of the complexity of the decision making. It's also going to be much more expensive. It can take longer, and there could be some black box solutions here, and you want to be conscious of that as well. UX and usability, I think we get that. That is where you are participating in the product in real life. So for digital products, hugely important. Oh, the button doesn't work. Oh, I expect to be able to click on this and go here, but instead I go here. So definitely important for digital. It's used by UX researchers, e-commerce managers, anything that may detract from the user experience and usability. You want to know that before you sink a lot of money into development. So very important to do that. Lots of platforms out there that do that are specialized for UX and usability, also within traditional research as well. Generally, these are observational, so you're observing the behavior in real time. There can be usability labs where it's more like qualitative. You're guiding people through an exercise, getting their feedback, or it can be asynchronous and remote. Generally, smaller sample size, more qualitative input, but it can be done at quantitative scale as well. iHUTs and physical trial management. I kind of cut my teeth on this in my research career early on. AI has not replaced smelling, touching, tasting today, and we may get there, but we're not there yet today. So any product that is that fits in that criteria, then you're going to want to test it with somebody touching it, tasting it, smelling it. Those are generally structured with smaller sample sizes, but within kind of monadic type of design. So you're getting good feedback. Lots of companies have automated the process, but the end result is still people that are sharing feedback on a product, either in a central location test or home use test. Takes longer generally, obviously. Although we are getting efficiencies on the back end from an analysis standpoint. Still a big part of business, particularly in food, cosmetics, health and beauty. This is still the default first place you go to really optimize concepts. Again, takes longer, costs more. It's you got to deal with shipping product, all of those things. So keep that in mind. Many companies that are suppliers in this category have built up benchmarks and normative database to compare off against. So that can be a real benefit as well. All right. Very conscious of time. There's lots of technology here that impacts things, and I just want to run through a couple things for you to pay attention to. Where is your supplier working with around automation and templates to create more efficiency and make it faster and cheaper for you? Sample and panel quality, we've talked about that. How much analysis do you need on the back end? How rigorous and complex is that? Some things are, these platforms are going to be fairly simple. Some are going to be more robust. Understand what your needs are for the analysis and the deliverables. What type of stimuli are you using? Keep that in mind. That's going to be important. Think about privacy and IP protection. It's not uncommon for digital solutions to have a piece of code that does not allow a respondent, for instance, to do a screen capture and take your new product concept and spread that around. So if that's important to you, make sure that you have that capability. Lots of enhanced functionality coming here with AI, integrations, API, agents, all of those things where that was kind of a reach 6 months ago. Today's becoming table stakes. So make sure that your vendor is aligned to whatever your future goals are and is ensuring that they're providing the solutions that are going to help you get there. All AI, all the time. This doesn't change the basics, but it does change the process. And if you are migrating from an enterprise standpoint into an agentic framework within your organization, where everything is feeding into your own agentic ecosystem, AI ecosystem, then make sure that your suppliers are ready to do that and have enabled those connections. So that's about it. There's a lot to consider here. Again, you're going to have a copy of the deck. I know I went through a lot really quickly. Your best bet is going to be talk to your suppliers and just think about all the permutations as they are related to you in your specific scenario. But that's it for this edition, and we'll talk to you again soon at the next Insights Tech Showcase. Bye-bye.